Right, so for everybody that's nervous disposition, we are now recording. So right, here we go. So I might end up passing this to somebody because it might be a bit difficult with all my props and things.
Please do not swear.
And knowing him, he'll be sat reading my script anyway. So apologies that I've got a script because, you know, I thought I'd try and just remember everything. Just so that we're aware, this is all the audience. So these are the people that have bothered to turn up. So we're here for Eamonn's leaving presentation. Eamonn joined Mouchel Business Services over 4 years ago on the 26th of September 2011. Now some of you may think that I'm quite clever for finding that out, but I actually emailed him and asked him. He joined as a fresh-faced boy. Helen, am I right in thinking that when he joined us, he looked very young, quite slim, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, enthusiastic, and clean-shaven? Oh no, we're not done too bad today.
I did shave this morning.
He did shave this morning, which is good. So at the time, he fitted in really well with all that. Now on day one, Eamonn sat opposite me, and I think he will be the first to admit that I kept my eye out for him during the early days, especially at the time he was reporting to Helen. Seriously though, I was little more than a friendly face. However, it seems I've not been able to get rid of him since, as whenever our paths have separated, we always seem to hone back on each other in one way, shape or form. I think it's fair to say it's come to the fact that it's taken me to leave the business in order to shake him off. But then sod's law, he decides to leave himself. What he doesn't know is me moving to Mouchel Consulting was just a ploy, and that I'm actually coming back in January. Don't worry, I'm not coming back. Okay, so at that time, Eamonn joined what was then known as the informal education team. It comprised of Helen Otter, Sean Scargill, Ken Sharnock, myself, and then Eamonn. Some of you may or may not recognise those names, some of them, but good times ensued. But I note that after the day, unfortunately, Helen is the only person left from that group, and it was a great team. Whilst we're talking about like names, let's reflect. Do you notice how natural I am with this thing? It's just there. Whilst we're talking about names, let's reflect on Eamonn's list of managers. And remember, this is only during 4 years. Helen Otter at the time, Joseph Law. Then Joseph had a requirement to pass him on to me. So I managed him for a little while, and then Joseph took him back, and then Drew Melrose. But let's not forget Eamonn. He always thought he was in charge, really. He was also briefly received some mentoring from John Silito, and has also been, I think it's fair to say, kept an eye on by the likes of Sue Kennedy, a gentleman called Steve Lee, who used to head up the education team. And based on that list, I think Eamonn's nickname ought to be Hot Potato. It's fair to say that Helen and Joe taught Eamonn all they knew, and then I came along and put him on the right track.
That's harsh.
That's true. Fast forwarding.
Harsh about one of them. Just to be clear, it's harsh about you. Just to be clear, harsh about Joe, not you. Yeah.
So, fast forwarding on a year or so, and I do apologise for this, I think Eamonn said to me, don't be too harsh on me. I said I won't be too harsh. So fast forwarding a year or so, Eamonn's been through some slightly rebellious stages whilst he's been with us, where at times a regular phrase included, sorry, I'll just look and see if there's anybody important here, no apologies to everybody, who gives a shit? I think this was around the time that he tried to naively claim something like a month's flexi leave based on the 200 odd hours that he'd registered as working as extra. So this was his understanding of flexi time. I ended up being a broker between Eamonn and my manager at the time, and I think we settled on letting him have a couple of days off. Having mentioned this bad language of Eamonn's, it's fair to say that there's been a time or two when I've referred to him as a cocky little shit. That is only because he often knew more about things than I did, or so he thought. Now, just some evidence of this.
Oh, God.
Just so I can read it out specifically. A tweet this morning, 5 hours ago. See you at 1:15. How does he know I'm doing this? But more importantly, followed by, looking forward to receiving my Chromecast and Guinness.
Good job, Pauline. Well done.
He doesn't like surprises, bless him. That aside, I must stress that Eamonn has always been overwhelmingly attentive to both customers and especially colleagues. His attention to detail is second to none, and the way he picks up new things, not physically, he rubs at that, the way he picks up new things is fantastic. He's also great at tackling issues head on, but is always methodical, precise, and always does it in a polite manner. Not sure where you got that one from, but I guess you copied one of us. I have to say, my favourite time with working with Eamonn is when we did the education business forums around Lincolnshire. For those who are a little newer, when we had all the Lincolnshire clients, Helen will remember very well, Ange will as well, we went around the county twice a year and did sort of 10 venues where we did a presentation about all of the stuff that Mouchel was doing at the time. And school business managers would attend to learn more about Mouchel services, and on occasion they would come for a hug.
From him. Any female business manager.
Can we just remember Rachel might watch this later?
Any male business manager.
Now, let's just put the record straight. There was one lady in the Louth cluster that used to always want a hug, bless her.
What about the one at Grantham?
Moving on, we did become...
I think she wanted more than a hug, to be honest.
We did become quite a double act. Moving on. At some point...
You can't put it on YouTube now, you see.
No, I can't. At some points, we were like pop stars. But only because, on occasion, and Helen will reflect on this, we did so many venues in such a short period of time, we bloody forgot which town we were in. So it was like, hello Boston! Oh shit, we're in Grantham. Mouchel's strapline was, and in my case, working for Mouchel Consulting still is, building great relationships. And this is something that Eamonn has always excelled at. His strongest relationships include his friends, colleagues, and in many cases his customers. With that in mind, I'm always surprised that he's not got a girlfriend. Maybe he's just too nice, so maybe it's time to treat him mean and keep him keen. Either way, Eamonn has always looked out for others and takes a real interest in those around him. I think we saw that recently when he did Derek Malone's presentation, which was fantastic. For those who don't know about Eamonn's out-of-work activities...
No, don't. Not the watershed yet.
He's a big on-off fan of Blackpool Football Club. I only say on-off. Is it off at the moment?
On at the moment because they won on Saturday.
Okay. He gets upset with the directors and all sorts of decisions that get made. And he also plays an integral supporting role with Nettleham Cricket Club. He's also into late nights, watching American football. So Eamonn has decided to move on to pastures new, but in light of this presentation, I'll end with a comparison. Oh. I've already said Eamonn joined Mouchel Business Services as a fresh-faced boy. He was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, enthusiastic and clean-shaven. He leaves Kia Business Services as a bearded man, a homeowner. He's become a homeowner in the last 4 years.
I thought you were going to say homo for a second. I was a bit worried. And an experienced, if not somewhat haggard at times, account manager.
he's had his ups and downs, and on that basis, he still fits in well. So I'm sure you'll join me in wishing him all the best for the future. Just hold that a minute, mate.
We have a point in it.
It's fine, just somewhere there. So there's a little gift from me because Eamonn bought me a little bottle. So nice bottle of whiskey for you there.
Thank you.
And then we've got a card and a present.
It's going to look like I've got a drinking problem.
I'll leave that there. You know what's in it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So there's a card and various presents. Thanks to you all. And over to you.
Do I have to look at the camera?
No.
That's all right. I just want to say thank you very much. It's been a very, very difficult decision for me to leave because people here are genuinely fantastic, and I think that's been highlighted over the last year or so with the difficult circumstances and how well everyone's mucked in to help each other out and keep each other going. I was going to thank Richard, but I'm not. But there are some people that I would like to thank, and apologies if I should thank you if I forget. First of all, there's Helen, who was genuinely brilliant to me when I first started the company, including getting me a laptop that had been put up for sale because they didn't have a laptop for me. And then about 2 years later, someone rang her up to ask why I was using a laptop that had been put up for sale and had I stolen it.
50 quid, that was.
Yeah, it was. But genuinely fantastic towards me, and still is. Richard, when he's not prattling about with cameras and whatnot, the same. Pauline and Anne, I think this place would fall down without them. They are fantastic. All the unseen stuff that they do, including my admin when I couldn't be bothered. They always had a good chuckle whenever anybody sent a letter of complaint in or came for a meeting with me and referred to me as Mr. Eamonn Holmes, account manager, which happened on more than one occasion.
Talking of nicknames, my son knows him as Emo more, based off Twitter.
Yeah. And then just everyone else really, and obviously in more recent times, the guys in payroll, in particular our payroll team, have been doing a really good job. That's it. I'm going to miss everybody, but hopefully see you around, and thank you very much. Have a fantastic Christmas and take care of yourselves.